you may take a seat.
Morning. Let's try that again. Good morning. Can you mute this so I can go up here? Let's give our camp choir a hand. It is so good to be with you this morning. If we haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Jeremy. I'm one of the pastors here at the Grove. I have been off for the last 3 weeks. I have been gone from Cottage Grove for the 3 of the past 4 Sundays. I'm so excited to be back with you this morning. I had stress dreams about not being here, so I'm thrilled to be back here this morning. We are a new church that exists to grow goodness, and so my hope is that you're being here with us today, you're watching us sometime later online, you're interacting with us out in the community throughout the week, is somehow nurturing healing, wholeness, and beauty in your life. Just a couple logistical things as we get going this morning. We referenced online lyrics. We do not have our printed lyrics here. So if you are wanting to follow along either with the lyrics or with other things that I'm going to be talking about or we're going to be doing this morning, you're going to need to go to our website, and then there's a link for online lyrics. Otherwise, if you get one of these, which is over at that welcome table, in addition to a bunch of information that I'm going to share with you on the back, there's a QR code for our link tree, and one of the top items is the outdoor lyrics. So you can scan that and go there, click on that link, and then all of the information that you're going to need for the morning is also available there. But these are available over on the table over there. If you didn't get one, now is a great time to go grab one. As you open it up, on the left-hand side, it's got some of the most important information about the church, how we got started, what our values are, how to give to make sure we're able to continue to make all of this possible, not only for us, but for the people who aren't yet here. So you can give in person. There's a little box there next to the coffee table. You can give online or even via Venmo. Then on the right side, we have information about kids in worship. Kids are valued members of this community. We don't just say that, and we mean that. And we try to create the space for that to be true for them. We're only a few weeks, 4 weeks away from, 4 or 5 weeks away from the end of summer, which means Grove Kids, our full programming will begin as we move back inside for the fall. But we're not there yet, which means we don't have any structured programming for kids, which means if you have kids with you here today, you are responsible for those kids, okay? They are free to move about the cabin. We've got the playground back there. Obviously, they can move over here. We have these little strings that they can tie along here, or ribbons that they can tie on this string. We just ask that you keep an eye or an ear on your children because you are responsible for them, not the other adults. So if you can make sure they stay out of the road, out of the parking lot, out of the building, unless you are in there with them and in front of the stage. Otherwise, they're free to move about throughout the service and be full participants in what we are doing. Then on the back side, we have our announcements. Guess what? It's a new month. These are not the announcements that we are going to be talking about this month. But if you have that link tree up or that lyrics page up, we do have the 3 announcements in there. So these are things that are coming up that we want you to be aware of or making some movement on. I'm just going to hit the details really quickly. Number 1 is on August 31st, our last Sunday of outside, the last Sunday before school starts. We have our backpack blessing where all of our students, preschool through college or whatever, all of our students are welcome to bring their backpacks and come and stand up here at the stage, and we say a blessing over them as they begin their school year. We're going to be doing that at both of our services. So again, just kind of mark your calendars, and it's a good opportunity to invite other people as well. So that's on August 31st. On August 22nd, that is a Friday, as a part of our Campfire Stories series, which you're hearing a whole lot more about in just a few minutes. We're doing a campfire night here, right over there. It's called Embers and Echoes, and it's just going to be a fun opportunity for us to be together, have some treats together, sing together if you choose. Otherwise, just be in each other's presence. Again, that is on August 22nd. And then, believe it or not, we're already starting to talk about on October 11th, we have our biggest event of the year, the Pop-Up Pumpkin Patch. Seems like a long way away, but it requires a lot of planning because we host literally thousands of people on this property for that event. So if you are interested in helping us to plan and execute that event, we would love your help. Again, you're going to be hearing a whole lot more about that in the coming weeks because it's not coming up until October 11th. Again, wanted to make sure I got the date right. I believe that is it for Announcements. So with that, we're going to move into the part of the service, which we do every single week, called Connection Point. Connection Point is your opportunity to connect with people around you through a little bit of forced interaction. We recognize that that's difficult. And so the one thing that we do to make it a little bit easier, to lower the bar a little bit, is we give you at least one thing that you can talk with people about if you have no idea what to talk to these strangers about. So in just a moment, we'll ask you to stand up, find someone near you don't know or don't know very well. You can introduce yourself. And then the question for today, I don't know what the questions have been the last couple weeks. I've been gone, but today's question is going to be, with only a few weeks left of summer, what are you trying to cram in to make sure that you get in before fall begins? We are scheduling, or we need to schedule, a trip to Stillwater with our family. We go to the Boom site. Anybody familiar with the Boom site? And then we go to Nelson's Ice Cream, where the kiddie ice creams are this tall. We have not gone there yet this summer, but we will be for sure. So that is on our bucket list for the summer. What is on your bucket list for the summer? Why don't you stand up, find someone near you don't know or don't know very well, introduce yourself, discuss your bucket list item, and then we'll circle back up in a few minutes. All right, you can go ahead and find your seats, except for kids. I need the kids to come up here because we've got a story to read to you. We have been doing these campfire stories for the past 4 summers. Do you remember? Anybody remember these? This is my first time doing one of the campfire stories. I'm excited for this. You are way more engaged than your adults. It's a joke. It's a joke. Before I read the story for today, though, I wanted to show you. Anybody know what this is? Canvas. What do you do with a canvas? Paint. I brought this tool, though. I was thinking about. I have this tool and I have this canvas. I was thinking about using this tool on this canvas. Is that a good idea or a bad idea? Why is that a bad idea? Because it will smush it. It'll smush it? Is because why? I'll put a hole in it. It's a waste of money. You put a hole in it. So this is not the type of tool that I would use for this? No. What would I use this for? A nail. A nail? Okay, but not for a canvas.
Use a paintbrush.
And then for this, I'd use a paintbrush, right? Something like this. This might take a while if I'm going to paint this canvas. But yeah, you know that. You're smart enough. You got to use the right tool for the right thing that you're working with. That only makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Can I tell you something? A silly thing that sometimes grown-ups like me do when they're reading the Bible. They just come in with a hammer and expect the Bible to be a nail. And so they go at the stories of the Bible with a hammer because they think, oh, this is how the Bible should behave. It should be like something that I hit with a hammer. Instead of saying, wait a second, isn't it more like a canvas? Shouldn't it be something that we like paint beautifully instead of making it work with a hammer just because we have a hammer? So this whole series that we are doing this month are all about telling stories as if they are a beautiful painting that we are putting on a canvas instead of saying, well, this story ought to act like a nail because I have a hammer. So today's story is about a guy named Joseph. Anybody know a guy named Joseph? There's 2 big people named Joseph in the Bible. One is Jesus' dad. This is not Jesus' dad. This is a different Joseph. So I'm going to read this story for you about Joseph and his, he's got an amazing coat. Jacob, so this is Joseph's dad, had 12 sons, but Joseph was his favorite. One day, Jacob gave Joseph a splendid new robe. It was beautiful and rich with all the colors of the rainbow, but it made Joseph's brothers jealous. They wanted rich rainbow robes too. Then, to make matters worse, Joseph kept on having these special dreams. He said, I dreamed I was the greatest. I was king. Joseph told his brothers, and you all bowed down to me. How do you think his brothers felt about that? No, great. Now, I'm sure you know, even if Joseph didn't, that telling your brothers things like that isn't a very good idea. Joseph's brothers hated him even more. They wanted to kill Joseph and his dreams. And one day, that's exactly what they tried to do. They tore Joseph's rainbow robe off him and sold him to slave traders. The traders took Joseph to Egypt and made him into a slave. The brothers went home and lied to their father, telling him that Joseph was dead. That's the end of that, dreamer, they thought. But they were wrong. God had a magnificent dream for Joseph's life, and even when it looked like everything had gone wrong, God would use it all to help make the dream come true. God would use everything that was happening to Joseph to do something good. Meanwhile, though, things were not looking good for Joseph in Egypt. He was far from home and from his dad. Then he got blamed for something he didn't do, and even though he had done nothing wrong, he was punished and thrown into jail. But God had not left Joseph. One night, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had a scary dream about thin cows gobbling up fat cows. What on earth did that mean? He didn't know. But Joseph was a dream expert. So Pharaoh sent for him. It means a famine is coming. You know what a famine is? Yeah, when there's like no food to go around. Yep. Joseph explained there won't be enough food. Pharaoh was so pleased by Joseph's skill that he immediately took Joseph out of jail and made him a prince. Now back home, Joseph's brothers had run out of food, and everyone was hungry. God's special family was in danger. If they didn't get food soon, they would starve to death. So Joseph's brothers traveled to Egypt to buy food. They came and knelt before the new prince. His brothers didn't know that the prince was Joseph, but Joseph knew who they were. Joseph's dream, the one about his brothers bowing down to him, was coming true. "It's me," Joseph cried. When they saw it was Joseph, his brothers were afraid. They had wronged Joseph. They had sinned, and they knew it. Now Joseph would certainly punish them. But Joseph looked at his brothers, and his eyes filled with tears. Even though his brothers had hurt him and hated him and wanted him dead, in spite of everything, he couldn't stop loving them. His heart, which had been broken, filled with love, and Joseph forgave them. Joseph threw his arms around them. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Behind what you were doing, underneath everything that was happening, God was doing something good. God was making everything right again." Joseph didn't punish them. He rescued them. He brought God's special family to live safely with him in Egypt. The end. So that is a good reminder. Yes, thank you. That is a good reminder that even when things are going really bad, even when you feel like you're in a pit, when nothing can go right, when God feels distant, God feels silent even, that God is with you and willing to say, I think I can make something good out of this. That's all I got. Thanks for coming. You can go play. And the choir can come back up now.
So in the spirit of today's message being on Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, we are going to do a medley from Joseph. You don't have to stand, but if you know Joseph, familiar with the musical, feel free to sing along, but on purpose, this is kind of a special space for the choir to do their thing. If there are other kids or people who want to do our ribbon twirling, you are more than welcome to join and dance with us as well. It looks like we got one more joining me here. So, enjoy.
Jacob and sons, the family following to earn
Thank you. Camp choir. How fun.
Mentioned already multiple times now, we are starting a new series this month that is not a new series at all because we've done it for the last 4 years, which we call Campfire Stories. And the reason we do this is because, well, kind of like the illustration that I gave earlier, I grew up in a tradition, and there's many other Christian traditions that some of you might be familiar with, some of you may even have grown up in, that hold the Bible and its stories very highly. And so growing up, I was taught the Bible and its stories. But the other thing that I was taught right alongside the Bible and its stories was how to defend the Bible and its stories and how to prove that the Bible and its stories were 100% historically accurate. And like really, we were taught these stories, and we were taught we were given the tools to prove that those stories that we were just learning were entirely 100% historically accurate, because if they were not, then something was wrong with the Bible. The more that I learned about the Bible and came to love the Bible and came to read it for what it is and for what it was and intended to be as it was written 2,000 years ago and half a world away, is that I realized, man, we were using the wrong tools that whole time. And it completely changed what the Bible was and what it was capable of doing, because we were using tools on this thing that were never expected to be used on it. Which is kind of like what the philosopher Abraham Maslow called the hammer problem. Any of you familiar with Maslow's hammer? You're probably familiar with the concept once I read this to you, but he wrote this middle of the 20th century. He called it the law of the instrument. I remember seeing an elaborate and complicated automatic washing machine for automobiles that did a beautiful job of washing them. But it could do only that, and everything else that got into its clutches was treated as if it were an automobile to be washed. I suppose it is tempting, if the only tool you have is a hammer, to treat everything as if it were a nail. So as I was growing up, the tool that I was handed with dealing with the Bible was a hammer. And that hammer was historical reliability tied up into modern expectations of what history and what texts involving history ought to look like. And what that meant was everything was a nail that I needed to hit and that we needed to hit. But the Bible's not a nail. The Bible is not like that. It was being expected to deliver things that it was never intended to deliver. And so the whole concept of this series, why we're doing it now, why we continue to come back to it every single year, is that we want to view the Bible more as a canvas, more as this thing that was meant to pass down these beautiful stories, often meant literally to be told in community around campfires, in order to deliver a single message, a profound message, a relatable message that was not necessarily tied to all of these details about historical accuracy that we are now tied into some 2,000 years later and half a world away. So that is what we're going to be attempting to do throughout this series, painting on a canvas instead of hitting everything with a hammer. So today we're kicking things off with a beautiful picture put on a canvas, the story of Joseph. Before we get into that story, though, we need to introduce Joseph's family. So the story of Joseph happens in the book of Genesis, which is the very first book of the Bible. It not only introduces the beginning of the world, but the beginning of the Jewish people, and it introduces these people called the patriarchs. These are names that you are probably familiar with. These are some of the biggest names and biggest heroes of the Bible. Joseph's great-grandfather was a guy named Abraham. Anybody familiar with Abraham? Abraham was the one that God called to move away from his home, move away from everything that was familiar, to move to this place called Canaan. He was not able to have any kids at this point, but he said, if you do this, I'm going to bless you with a nation, with a family that outnumbers the stars in the sky. I'm going to bless you to go and be a blessing to the whole world. So that's Abraham, Joseph's great-grandfather. Abraham has this miracle baby after being 90-some years old, whose name is Isaac, and Isaac receives that blessing that's handed down to Abraham. Isaac then hands his blessing in a little bit more complicated fashion down to his son Jacob. And then Jacob, who is the father of Joseph, has 11 other sons. Joseph is the second youngest. Usually the oldest in the families were like the favorite. They are the ones that are going to receive the blessing. But as we've heard from this story, Joseph is actually the favorite and gets handed all of these things that his brothers aren't so thrilled about. So this is where the story picks up in Genesis chapter 37. Jacob settled in the land where his father had lived as an alien, the land of Canaan. This is the story of the family of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was shepherding the flock with his brothers. He was a helper to the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought a bad report of them to their father. Now Israel, who's the other name for Jacob, loved Joseph more than any of his other children, because he was the son of his old age, and he had made him a long robe with sleeves. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than his other brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. Once Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream that I dreamed. There we were, binding sheaves in the field. Suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright. Then your sheaves gathered around and bowed down to my sheaf." His brothers said to him, "Are you indeed to reign over us? Are you indeed to have dominion over us?" So they hated him even more because of his dreams and his words. He had another dream and told it to his brothers, saying, "Look, I have had another dream. The sun, the moon, and the 11 stars were bowing down to me." But when he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said to him, "What kind of dream is this that you have had? Shall we indeed come, I and your mother and your brothers, and bow down to the ground before you?" So his brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Not mine. So you've probably heard this story before. It's a very familiar story in the Bible. Even if you didn't, we read it just a few minutes ago. You might even be familiar with it from the musical. And part of the story that often gets handed down and even is displayed in the musical is Joseph finds himself in this really bad situation. He's a really great guy, but his brothers are jealous and finds himself in this really bad situation. There's even one of the songs is "Poor, Poor Joseph." But if you listen to the details of the opening of this story, Joseph isn't all that great of a brother. He's not all that great of a guy. He's kind of a cocky little fellow, to the point where even his dad is like, "Dude, tone it down." But he has these dreams, and he has to tell his brothers and his dad these dreams. He will not stop. He is like relentless, and his brothers get sick of it. And so his brothers do like any of us would do, they grab him and they throw him in a pit, and then they sell him into slavery, and then they tell their dad that he was killed. Any of us would do that. Okay, probably not any of us would do it. And you kind of understand why they would go through this. Like Joseph did some bad stuff. They did some bad stuff as well. But Joseph finds himself in this situation that is not ideal. Poor, poor Joseph. He's being brought away to Egypt in slavery, and yet we are told in this story, even as this is happening, that God is with him. So he finds his way to Egypt, and when he arrives in Egypt, he becomes a slave in the house of one of the generals for Pharaoh, whose name is Potiphar, and he starts making himself known in that household. He does all these great things, and Potiphar's thinks really well of him, but then Potiphar's wife takes notice, and she tries to make a move on Joseph. Joseph is like, "This isn't going to happen, not for me." But then Potiphar's wife turns it around and claims that Joseph had in fact made a move on her. Potiphar isn't thrilled about this, and so Potiphar has him thrown into jail. Once again, poor, poor Joseph in a foreign land. Now he's in jail. He's going to be there for years. And yet we're reminded again throughout this story, even and especially in this situation, God is with him and is favoring him. So Joseph is then in jail for at least 2 years, we're told. And during that time, he starts to develop a reputation among the guards and among the other prisoners. He's a hardworking dude. They start giving him more and more responsibility, the guards do. And then he also develops this reputation for being able to interpret people's dreams, which is not a super normal thing. And so he stands out. So after a few years, Pharaoh has a dream that he can't figure out. And one of Pharaoh's servants who's in his household at that time used to be in prison with Joseph, and he remembers Joseph and says, you need to get this Joseph guy to try to interpret your dream. So Pharaoh sends for Joseph. Joseph comes and he interprets the dream and says, we've got 7 years that things are going to go really well. And then after those 7 years, there's going to be 7 years of famine. And so this dream is about you needing to spend those first 7 really good years building up your stocks so that you can survive those 7 years. And others will come to you when they are in need in those 7 years. Pharaoh's thrilled with this answer. But also Joseph adds on, you probably need to put somebody in charge of this. Someone who, has shown themselves to be reliable and is really wise. And so Pharaoh's like, oh, you're standing here? I guess we'll put you in charge. So Joseph makes his way up in the kingdom, and he becomes basically like the chief operations officer, who for 7 years is building up the stock loads when things are really well, because after those 7 years, things turn bad, and everybody else is going to be looking for food, looking for ways to survive, and because of the work that Joseph has done, they're all going to be coming to him. Lo and behold, that's exactly what happens. His brothers come to him. They come down to Egypt. They arrive looking for help, looking for food. They stand before the COO of Egypt, and they don't recognize that it is their brother. Now, the story that we read to the kids, Joseph comes straight out and says, it's me. But Joseph is still the cocky little guy that he always was. And he remembers these dreams that he had about his brothers coming and bowing down to him, and he's not going to let that go past them. So what he does is he does not reveal that it is him. He starts playing a little game with them. He makes them go back to Egypt, or go back to Canaan to get their brother, their youngest brother, to bring back. When he comes back, he sets up this elaborate scheme where their youngest brother, Benjamin, is made out to be a thief. And so he says that he's going to arrest Benjamin and keep him in his household. Finally, after playing all of these games with his brothers, when things are about to crack, he finally reveals, I'm your brother. I'm the one that you did all this to, and I'm still going to care for you anyways. So they go back to Canaan, they get their dad and their entire family come down to Egypt, and they are welcomed as prized members, prized guests of the kingdom. And still, even after all that, things don't seem like they've necessarily been ironed out. And it all kind of comes to a head once their dad, Jacob, dies. So again, the story picks up in Genesis 50. Realizing that their father was dead, Joseph's brothers said, what if Joseph still bears a grudge against us and pays us back in full for all the wrong that we did to him? So they approached Joseph, saying, your father gave this instruction before he died. Say to Joseph, I beg you, forgive the crime of your brothers and the wrong they did in harming you. Now, therefore, please forgive the crime of the servants of the God of your father. Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Then his brothers also wept, fell down before him, and said, we are here as your slaves. But Joseph said to them, do not be afraid. Am I in the place of God? Even though you intended to do harm to me, God intended for it for good, in order to preserve a numerous people as he is doing today. So have no fear, I myself will provide for you and for all your little ones. In this way he reassured them, speaking kindly to them. It's not immediately clear in this story, and his story, Joseph's story, spreads over a couple dozen chapters. But one of the things that is unique about Joseph's story is he is the only one of his family up to this point, the patriarchs up to this point, who doesn't have a direct connection to God. He's the only one to this point who doesn't have that interpersonal connection where he gets to talk directly to God and hear directly from God. Abraham, his great-grandfather, spoke directly to God. Isaac, his grandfather, spoke directly to God. Jacob, his father, spoke directly to God. He even gets his name changed to Israel, which means wrestling with God, because he literally wrestled with God. Joseph has all of this past family experience where everybody before him has had this direct line to God, and yet he doesn't. And yet he goes through all of this hard stuff, and when it would have been really, really helpful to hear directly from God, God's silent. And at the same time, he has these dreams, he has these experiences, and through these dreams and these experiences, he interprets them in a certain way. And how does he interpret them? That even though God is silent through all of this, God is still with him. And God is still in favor of him, even and especially when things are going really bad. We all have times in our lives, I'm sure, where things are going really well, when it seems like God's hand is like hovering over us, when things couldn't go better, when all of the blessings that we could ask for seem to be showering down on us, like God is like speaking those blessings over us. But then there are plenty of times when that's not the case. There are plenty of times when it seems like God is distant, like God is not even there, or if God is there, God is just completely silent. There are those moments when we have felt like we are in a pit, like we've been abandoned, like we have been forsaken. And Joseph's story reminds us and encourages us that even and especially in those moments, God is somehow still there, still with us, still favoring us. And it might not be through a booming voice that's speaking directly to us. It might be more like through someone offering grace to us or us offering grace to them. It might be through having that integrity to do the right thing even when other people aren't watching. It might be in a situation where we offer grace to someone who does not deserve it, and that is actually God's presence and grace working in and through us in profound ways. And so wherever you find yourself today, whatever difficult situation you find yourself in, whether it feels like God's hand is directly over you or is distant or completely silent, my hope is that in this story of Joseph, that you might find comfort, you might find healing, you might find some resilience to be able to get up, to believe that presence, to believe that favor, and to extend it to others in ways that might even speak more profoundly than even a booming voice from heaven. May that be so. With that, we're going to move into a time of communion. Communion is one of the sacraments of the church. Sacrament is a fancy word for an outward sign of an inward grace. It's a tangible thing that speaks to something deeper. And so this is a retelling of a very old story that Jesus was retelling with his closest followers. In his most difficult moments, as he was preparing for what was going to happen to him in the next 24 hours, he was gathered with them for his last meal with them. In the next 24 hours, he was going to be completely abandoned. He was going to be turned over. He was going to be executed. And yet in those final moments, he gathered with them for this meal and retold this old story about their people being freed from slavery in Egypt. He took these very familiar elements and he infused them with new meaning in order to connect with them in their moment of need. And so during the dinner, he took a loaf of bread and he broke it. After giving thanks, he said, "Imagine this is my body, which is broken for you. Do this as often as you eat it in remembrance of me." The same way, after dinner, he took a cup and poured it out and said, "Imagine that this is my blood poured out for you. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and you drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes again." Again, he was preparing them for the most difficult moments that were going to be out in front of them, reminding them that in this meal, in this sacrament, in this outward sign of an inward grace, that God was going to be present with them and favor them, even and especially in their most difficult moments. So that is why we do this monthly, why we continue to do it over and over again as a reminder for us. So in just a few moments, we'll invite you to come forward to partake. All of the bread here is gluten-free, so you are welcome to participate. We'll hand you a piece of the bread, and then you'll take the bread and dip it into the cup. The cup is grape juice, which means if you are in recovery, you are welcome to participate. You'll dip it in the cup, and then you'll eat it. Just a reminder, as always, we have plenty of bread, where if you drop the bread into the cup, don't go fishing after it. We'll give you another piece. We have plenty to go around. The grace of God abounds, so does the bread, okay? You're welcome to do that and then return to your seat. A couple other notes. You do not have to be a member of the Grove in order to participate. You don't have to be a member of the United Methodist Church to participate. You don't have to have all of your theology about all of the things figured out in order to participate. You do not have to be an adult in order to participate. The best way to experience the grace of God is to experience it, and so everyone is welcome. And so with that, I will have you repeat after me. Christ has died.
Christ has died.
Christ has risen.
Christ is risen.
And Christ is coming again.
Christ is coming again.
They're going to come up now, right? So I'm going to move this table forward.
And
after
Tammy
I do that,
will help you.
we'll invite
Okay.
everybody to come forward.
Amazing music? Oh, amazing music, yes. Amazing music! Oh my god.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Always been your grace, always been your grace, always been your grace, always been your grace, in spite of pain and life's unrest, when there's no hope I see, there's grace that woke there all this morn, and grace that lets
So good to be with you this morning. So good to be back with you. Truly, being away was really difficult. So the fact that we get to be back together on this beautiful morning is an absolute gift. If you are new with us, I look forward to meeting you, spending more time with you. If you're looking for a church, we would love to be your church, and I would love to be one of your pastors. I'll have you stand as you are able and extend your hands to receive this blessing as we go. As we go, may you know God's presence and favor in your life, even and especially in your darkest moments, even and especially when it seems like your story has been written for you. Be so. Amen.